We have a man and a woman, probably having some sort of relationship, brother, sister, father, daughter, who knows? We don't know yet. Any idea where they might be from? Yarinkov, Varinka.
Yes, Russia.
The mother Russia, of course. Or at least some Slavic country, perhaps. The next thing we see on there is what?
The scene.
The scene.
Okay. Where it's taking place.
Right. I'm going to use the term setting because it's a little bit more accurate. In this case, since it's only one scene, that's okay, I guess. But setting is a more appropriate term. It means the where and the when, right? Where are we and at what time is this happening? What is the setting for this play?
In a small garden in
1898.
Okay. Anyone ever heard of Mironitsky? That's probably the point. Right. I've never heard of Mironitsky. I've even done research to try to figure out if there was a Mironitsky. I've never found it, if it's there. So it might very well be the point that this is supposed to be some little backwoods town in Russia, away from, you know, the urban world that you've never heard of. The time, sorry, let's get a little more specific. We know we're in a village of Mironitsky, which means we're not in Moscow, we're not in some big center of population. We're in a small garden in the village of Mironitsky. Now, what kind of atmosphere does that conjure for you? Okay, rural?
Serene.
Serene, possibly.
I was thinking romantic.
Very good. Okay, very likely. Would you communicate with someone differently if you were in a small garden than you would if you were in a busy marketplace?
Yes.
Or in church? Or at the Super Bowl? Or whatever, right? Location and time, what we would call context, absolutely shapes the way conversations not only occur, but the way that they're perceived. Right? Words mean different things depending on who says them and when and where and how. So context becomes very, very important in distinguishing what's happening here. So here we are with a scene about two characters in a small little garden in a rural village of Mironitsky. 1898, that's a little on the specific side, don't we think?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't say turn of the century, did he? Or the 1890s, or, you know, 1898, that is a specific year. As the play goes on, we'll find out not only is it a specific year, we'll also find out that it's a specific time of that specific year. What does a year tell you? What kind of information can you get from knowing what year the action is taking place?
What other things happened during that time period?
Okay, historical context, political context, what else? What's going on in Russia in 1898?
Beats me.
Google! Okay. Anybody ever seen Fiddler on the Roof?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, 1905. So not far from this, and of course that's the time when the pogroms were happening and the Jews were being driven out of Russia. We're in the period of Alexander the Great, or the last of the Tsars. There's a lot of things going on. 1917 Bolshevik Revolution that took it into the age of communism, ultimately ushering that in. That's only a few years away. So there's a lot of things we can find out, and later on there's, no, I'm not going to go there yet. What else can we know about a year? What else does that tell us besides historical context, political context?
I was thinking about costuming.
Absolutely. What were people wearing in those times? And why? That's always a fun question to ask. Why do people wear what they wear at different times in history? Wonderful things to do research on. You will learn a lot about history just by figuring out why people wear what they wear. What else can we learn from a year?
Scenery, what things look like.
Okay. Scenery, technology of all sorts, right? Everything from home building technology to communication technology, transportation technology. Yes?
Like compare from what it was then and now.
Okay, differences and perhaps even some similarities. You know, what's universal about this versus what was specific to that time period? What do we draw from that? What can we learn? How are we like these characters? How are we different? Why are we different if we are?
Are we allowed to mention characters when we say that period? Because I would say slang.
Sure.
The slang that they use in that period tells a lot.
Absolutely. That, of course, raises the question, is the playwright using, you know, period correct language? But that's another issue altogether.